Bluestone Resources is a Vancouver-based natural resources company. I am joined by company president and CEO Darren Klinck. Darren, great to have you here today.
Thanks very much for having us.
Well, first and foremost, I would like a company overview as well as a little insight into your projects in Guatemala. So tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah. No. Great. Great to be here and happy to do that. So, Bluestone's actually a relatively new company, and in fact, it's just over 12 months old, really, in its current formation, and it's made up of predominantly a core group of assets in Guatemala, which we acquired from Goldcorp about 12 months ago. The company's based here in Vancouver. The assets really comprise of the Cerro Blanco gold project, as well as the Mita Geothermal project in the southeastern part of Guatemala. A really unique opportunity, I think, for Bluestone Resources from the perspective that it's an asset that is very well advanced, and in fact, over the last 10 to 12 years has had more than $230 million invested in it. Goldcorp made the decision that strategically it wasn't a good fit for them as they are exiting the country with their Marlin mine moving into closure, and hence an opportunity presented itself for Bluestone. As I said, a relatively small company and really didn't exist in its current formation just over 12 months ago, to step forward and make an offer to acquire it. And so we acquired it for $18 million. And this is a project with the primary asset is the gold project. The Cerro Blanco gold project has 1.2 million ounces of high-grade gold. It's permitted for mining. And that $230 million that was invested in it is enormous amount of infrastructure, underground development, portals, explosive magazines, administration buildings. We've picked up just over $2 million worth of mining equipment as well from Marlin. And we're right in the midst right now of completing a feasibility study, which is expected to be done by the end of this year.
And I would also like a technical overview of your two projects, the Cerro Blanco as well as the Mita Geothermal. So could you enlighten us?
Sure, yeah. No, well, the Cerro Blanco gold project, classic low sulfidation epithermal system. It's a small footprint. It's permitted for a high-grade underground mine. It's one of the highest grade undeveloped gold projects globally today. It was one of the things that was a real attraction for me, having spent just over 10 years with Oceana Gold, both based in Australia and also here in Vancouver, was the high quality nature of this asset, the fact that it was already gone through the permitting process, that it had all this head start from an investment perspective, and would really be able to generate some quite strong margins. The Mita Geothermal project is really unique. There's not very often that you find the opportunity to potentially produce your own power at a mine site. The Mita Geothermal project was advanced again by Goldcorp a few years back when the cost of power in Guatemala was quite a bit higher. Interestingly, in Guatemala, about 30 to 40% of the power generation in that country actually comes from carbon, coal, or predominantly bunker fuel. And so there's a big push on there for additional renewable energy opportunities. About $60 million has been invested in that Mita Geothermal project, and we're doing quite a bit of technical work there using experts out of the United States to help us to better understand in terms of the opportunities and how that might fit in with a gold mine.
And Darren, you mentioned energy, and we're also talking about mining. So stakeholders as well as viewers in the audience might ask about sustainability. So can you tell me a little bit about Bluestone's innovative approaches? Sure.
Well, and they definitely should ask about it because definitely it's a core focus for us. After the geology, I often talk about my team, or with my team, about the fact that job one is really our social acceptance and our social performance, the environment, the social management, and our governance as well. And so we've done quite a bit in the short 12 months that we've been involved, really at the ground level in Guatemala. We've really been able to kind of leverage, I guess, the good work that Goldcorp has done over the last decade there. This is a project down in Jutiapa that's been socialized for more than a decade. The local communities down there really referred to the Cerro Blanco project as our project. It's terrific, and it's something that we need to continue to really work on and continue to grow as this project advances, no doubt, from that exploration development phase and ultimately into a construction and operations perspective. So it's a core focus for the business, our environmental management, our social acceptance, working with local stakeholders as well as our government stakeholders. When I was first down in Guatemala, the first day on the job, in fact last August, I met with the mining minister and I made it very clear to him that we are a guest here in Guatemala. We bring that technical expertise, the financial expertise, and as a former colleague once told me, really our job is resource developers is to take what's in the ground, resource capital, and turn it into human capital. And that's really the capacity building and the training and the upskilling that comes alongside with that, and all the benefits that come obviously with taking what's out of the ground and creating a product that the world needs.
And in your business, Darren, there are a lot of moving parts. We're talking about different geographic locations, governments, as well as capital and organization. So given that your company is still very young, what is your timeline and what projects as well as other highlights are you looking forward to?
Sure. Well, I mean, we're about 130% of our time right now is really focused on delivering the feasibility study. As I mentioned earlier, it's very rare that there are opportunities for such a high-grade, high-quality opportunity that's been this advanced, as I said, with more than $200 million invested in it, that you can acquire for $18 million. So more than 100% of our time really is focused on advancing the project through to the feasibility study. We're engaging with various different stakeholders from a financing perspective, and we would hope that by the middle of next year we'll be able to put the financing in place to start the construction and development. And the interesting aspect of this, as well as we talked about earlier from the geothermal perspective, is how does that power solution kind of work in here? Is the ability to potentially produce the power that we need to operate the mine? Maybe this is the world's first green zero carbon footprint mine in the world. It's a small mine, it's a small footprint, high grade, and so our focus is very much on advancing that, taking advantage of the infrastructure that's in place, working closely with our local stakeholders and continuing to build capacity as we head towards the end of the year and when we complete the feasibility study.
And Darren, while we have you here, I want to ask about your expectations for global energy demand. It sounds as though you have a lot of insight into how the space works. So for people out there who are concerned about the way that different nations get energy, what would you say is on the horizon?
Well, I probably can speak more specifically, I guess, in Central America, having spent time in other parts of Central America as well, where from a power generation perspective, there traditionally has been a lot of dependence on carbon and coal-fired power plants. You look at bunker fuel, for example, as well. And so I know in the case of Guatemala, the Guatemalan government is very focused on increasing the renewable energy component to that. Geothermal operates is an interesting opportunity from that perspective. Of course, solar and wind is becoming more and more popular as well. So it's a unique opportunity for us, or potentially even for us, to partner with someone that's an expert in that area as we move forward. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we're mainly focused. What's really kind of leading the charges is on the mineral project, on the gold project at Cerro Blanco. But we recognize that there's additional opportunity and optionality associated with the geothermal project that we'll very likely look to partner with experts as we move forward.
Okay, Darren, well, thank you so much for joining me here at the Sprott Natural Resources Symposium, and thanks for all your insights into Bluestone Resources.
Very good. Thanks very much, Remy.